So, hello everyone to the day 2 of our symposium on artificial intelligence. I will just give a short summary what we had yesterday. Yesterday we started the meeting with Professor Kang Owang, who gave us a general lecture about generative artificial intelligence. Then we had Daniel Boyd with his very interesting talk about how artificial intelligence is being used in the care with the old people. Then we had Professor Gordana Crnkovic, who talked about autonomous robots and ethical challenges. Then we had Dr. Tomáš Sigmund, who talked about the future of the subject-object relationship in the world of the artificial intelligence. Then we had Professor Giovagnoli, who talked about transhumanism and posthumanism, Professor Magnani, who talked about the future of the cognitive computers. And finally, we had the visual performance of Martina Fröschel, who has just joined us now. So today we start with the Professor Liang Wang, who is connecting to us directly from China, and he's going to start his lecture in a moment. Then after him, I will talk, and then Dr. Yuriy Myelkov, and then we have an exchange. Instead of Klaus, Nigsch first will talk Asimina because she needs to go to the airport, and Klaus will talk 40 minutes later. And then we finish with Anna Hennessey, who will join us from San Francisco. She's not here yet because it's the middle of the night in San Francisco. So then we start with Professor Wang. So please, the floor is yours. We have altogether 30 minutes of time. Here you go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Wang Liang from Jiadong University. First, I'd like to thank Wolfgang for the kind invitation. Today, my talk is called "Should Social Robots Be Considered Moral Patients?" More patient? Yes. Okay. Let's start with a picture that makes us think. What did you feel watching that? It's from Boston Robot. Was it just a machine being hit, or did a part you feel uncomfortable, maybe even wrong? Today, we explore a big question. Should a social robot be considered moral patients? In other words, do they deserve moral concern like animals or even humans? Let's look beyond how they look or behave and ask, what makes someone or something worth for our care? In the past, people believed that only those who could think clearly, like adult humans, deserved moral care. This idea came from the Greek thinker Aristotle. So animals and children were often not seen as having full moral value. Aristotle talked about plants, animals, humans. They are so different. And they think just humans have rational soul. But later, ideas changed. After Darwin's theory of evolution and the rise of a new way of thinking called utilitarianism, some thinkers said, what matters is not thinking, but the ability to feel pain. Jeremy Bentham was one of the first to see that if a being can suffer, it deserves moral concern. Peter Singer agreed, and he said, we should not treat animals as less important just because they are not human. He used the word speciesism. Yes, speciesism. For this unfair treatment. Instead, he said censures the ability to fear should be the key. This new way of thinking asks us to consider if a robot seems to fear pain, should we treat it with moral care too? Yes, it's for us. Now we ask, what if a robot can suffer? That's hard to answer. We learned from the Chinese room. The Chinese room, yes, from Sarah. A robot may speak like a person, but not really understand. And from Mary's color scientist, the picture left. Even if a robot knows everything about red, it may still not fear red, just like Mary here. So we don't know what really happening inside a robot. Maybe it's just acting. But philosopher John Danner has an idea that helps us. John Danner now works in Deutschland. Yes. Maybe it's just acting. Ethical behaviorism. He says, don't worry too much about what's inside. Look at how the robot behaves. Let's take an example. The crying robot dog. Imagine you kick a robot dog by accident. It says, ouch, please don't hurt me again. I'm scared. It sounds sad. It avoids your foot. It hides under the table. You feel bad. You comfort it. Why? Because it acts like it's in pain, even if you know it's not there. Danaher would say that behavior is enough to make us think twice. Danaher's point is, if a robot behaves like a being we respect, maybe we should respect it too. But what if it's just acting? Someone may say, it's just a machine. It's faking it. That's where another idea comes. Functionalism. Functionalism sees what matters is how the robot works inside. So let's move to a stronger idea, functionalism. What is functionalism? Functionalism says it's not about what a mind is made of, but what it does. If something like brain or robot chip can process feelings, make decisions, learn from pain, reflect on its own thoughts, then may it has a mind, even if it is not human. So a robot might fear pain, not just fake it, but really have an internal pain process like us. Why is functionalism better than behaviorism? Behaviorism only looks at outside actions. Functionalism goes deeper. It looks at inner working systems, how information flows and reacts inside the machine. So it gives better evidence of real thinking or suffering. But is it enough? Here comes the big problem called the hard problem of consciousness. Even if a robot processes pain like us and behaves like us and learns from pain like us, does it really fear anything? We don't know. Because consciousness is not just about function. It's about experience, what it feels like inside. And this is something we still don't understand. Just like in the Chinese room, the robot talks but doesn't understand. Mary is a color scientist. She knows all facts but doesn't feel color. Robots might act and process like humans, but we still don't know if they truly experience suffering. This leaves us with a door. Functionalism opens the door to thinking that robots might have feelings, but it doesn't prove it. So what do we do? Next step, imaginative perception. It shifts the focus from the robot's inner life to our moral motivation. Let's explore that next. Some say machines cannot really feel pain, even if they act like they do. A robot dog might yelp when kicked, but it doesn't actually suffer. So, should we still treat machines with care? The answer lies in imaginative perception. How humans imagine and fear about machines, behaviors, and with feelings. Just because a robot shows pain doesn't mean it really feels it. Sometimes we fear empathy first, before we even believe someone is hurting, like a child crying when hearing another cry. We often react emotionally to things that look alive or human, like dolls or cartoons. We imagine the robots as real because it looks and acts like it has feelings. Let's summarize how it works, the empathy pathway. Step 1, a robot, like a robot dog, so signs that unlike a real animal, crying, pulling away, shaking. Step 2, these signs trigger us to imaginatively perceive the robot as if it were feeling pain. Step 3, this imaginative perception makes us feel empathy or care. Step 4, that empathy motivates moral concern. Even if we know the robot has no real inner feelings. So our moral care doesn't start with what the robot is, but with how we respond. Why this matters? This approach helps us understand why some people care deeply about machines, pets, even stuffed animals, and others don't. The moral status of a machine as a moral patient is not just about the machine's design. It's also about our human capacity to care through imagination. Imagine, yes. This doesn't solve the hard problem of consciousness, what it feels like to be a machine, but it gives us a way to talk about why humans treat machines as if they matter. We try to solve the problem of machine moral status not just by asking what machines feel inside. The conclusion is that, but by looking at the human side of the relationship, our moral motivation, our empathy, our imagine. In short, we try to solve the problem of machine moral patience from the human side of human-robot relationships. Thinking about robots with imaginative perception means we focus less on whether robots really fear and more on how treating them affects us. This idea is about building good habits like kindness and empathy, not just following rulers. Even if robots don't feel pain, caring for them helps us stay kind. Being mean to robots might make us less caring. Robots are not really moral beings, but we see them as leading care. Our feeling for them comes from how we react, not from the robot itself. When we care for a robot that looks hurt, we show the same kindness we feel for people. Kant has this idea too. The third view to see this. This also warns us not to lose our kindness by spending too much time with unfailing machines. But caring for robots can also help us become better people. In short, robots don't need feelings or rights for us to treat them well. What matters is how caring for them changes us. These scholars, just give you this PowerPoint. The scholars' theories help us understand these ideas. Some you see the Capture and Darling, Kate Darling, Shannon Velo, and who? This is K.E. Lextrup. Is from where? From Denmark? Yes, from Denmark. Yes, okay. Okay, let's see the Chinese culture, the Confucianism. How do you see this? Although Confucianism teaches us to care for animals, plants, and all things created by heaven and earth, this moral concern is based on the shared nature of life. In the Confucian's worldview, everything that is alive is part of a living moral network. The key idea is that the great virtue of heaven and earth lies in generation, 生生不息,生生之德, which means the highest value lies in the ability to give life, grow, and change naturally. Human beings, animals, and plants all belong to these organic living systems. They are born, they grow, and they die. They follow the natural rhythms of life. Because of this, they deserve moral care and respect. However, social robots are not alive, are not organic. They don't grow, reproduce, or participate in the circle of life. They do not come from the creative force of nature, but are artificial. And yes, even if we look or act like living beings, the lack of essential quality of life that Confucius value, the power of 生生, it means alive, or continuous generation. For this reason, Confucius thought does not see robots as moral patients in the true ontological sense. However, Confucius thought still allows social robots to play meaningful roles in human moral development. Emotional training tools for moral cultivation. Confucians believe that moral potential exists in everyone, as Myelkov said. Said what? 人性之善也，有水之下也. Human nature tends toward goodness, just as water flows downward. He also explained that we all naturally have four moral sins: 仁义礼智. 仁, what's 仁? 仁 is compassion, Yes, yi is sense of shame. Li is respect. And 智 is discernment of right and wrong. These four, these are not taught from outside, but arise from within. So he sees this. How to see this? The blue character. They are not imposed from outside, but are already in us. In this light, social robots can become extraordinary environments that help people awaken and practice these inner virtues. For example, when a person expresses care or penitence toward a robot companion, this does not prove the robot deserves care, but rather helps the person develop their own moral sensibilities, especially compassion, 人. In this way, robots act as tools for emotional and moral training, helping people to cultivate their inner goodness. Second, technological intentions of modern richer implements 常理如器 embodiment of 理 in material objects, just like the second picture. Confucianism highly values 理 or virtual propriety, which helps guide emotions and regulate social behavior. In ancient times, physical ritual vessels such as 福贵猪 and 豆 were used to express hierarchy, respect, and order the ceremonies. As noted in 春秋 Okay. Yeah, this sentence, I will not read this. You can see that. The 富贵猪 and 豆 ritual vessels used in this. Okay, I will not read, please see. Social robots can be seen as a modern form of virtual vessel, not because they have moral value themselves, but because the programmed gestures, speech patterns, and roles. For example, bowing, greeting, offering reminders, help maintain social norms and the sense of order. In schools, hospitals, or public spaces, robots can encourage politer behavior, respect for others, and a sense for timing or decorum. This is not true moral interaction. Robots do not fear and respond normally, but it's a ritualized interaction, which helps people behave appropriately and harmoniously. In this sense, robots help realize the confusing goal of transforming customs through ritual, 化民成俗, not by moral reasoning, but through environmental shaping. Let's look at some real-life examples of social robots. Paro is a soft robot shaped like a baby cell. It is used in hospitals and nursing homes. When older people touch and talk to it, they feel care and kindness. Paro cannot really feel, but it helps people practice love and empathy. Love vote is from love and robot. Love from Japan. Yes, it's a home robot made to receive human love. It's so cutie. It moves close, looks up at people, and speaks with a warm voice. People literally want to hug or pet it. It helps people grow in patience and care, even though it is not just a machine. Paper, yes, you can see the paper. Paper is software bank. Yeah, okay. Yes. Paper is used in public places like malls, banks, and hospitals. It welcomes people with letter, words, and boring gestures. Its actions are always the same, helping people feel order and respect. Paper works like a modern ritual tool that reminds us how to behave politely. Although social robots are not moral patients in an ontological sense, they can still help humans grow in moral feeling and behavior through practice and daily interaction. Even though social robots can help practice care and respect, seeing them as a real human companions can be risky. There's some risk. Why? Because people often imagine that robots have feelings and romance, but this is not true. Robots are machines. They use software and code. They don't really feel. When we think of robots like people, we may trust them too much. We may think they will always be kind of fair, but that is not always true. This kind of thinking can hide real dangers. It can also give us false hopes. So when we think about robot ethics, we must do more than just use our feelings. Just our feelings, just one side of this. We should others. This is the others. We need what? We need to deserve moral care and respect. However, social robots are not. We need. Sorry, we need. We need clear rulers. We need careful design. We need honest understanding of what robots can and cannot do. As future users and designers, you should ask questions. How does the AI work? Think carefully. Can we trust it? Does it make mistakes? Know the limits. When it's okay to use AI, when it is not, and it will destroy our relationships. And with this July, I will public English article. Cooperation with Hong Kong City University is Fan Ruiping professor. We cooperation. Yes, write this paper. Use convolutions view to see how to build a relationship in the AI's time. So this July will publish this paper. Maybe we will read it. It's all in English. This is a hard challenge, but if we face it clearly, we can build a safer and a better future with AI. Like in Plato's allegory of the cave, we should not only look at the shadows on the wall.
We don't hear you too well.
It's okay. Thank you. It's the same with AI. So this is my report. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, fine. Thank you. At the end, like the last minute, we didn't hear you too well, but we see the slides and we heard like 95% of the presentation very well. Thank you. We have like 5 minutes for discussions and for the questions. Do you have any questions here in the audience or some comments? Anyone? Yes, please.
Okay. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can. Of course. Thank you. It's clear.
So you talked about the connection of classical Confucian thought and robots. So my question would be, we all know that Confucianism is based on 5 basic relationships, and those relationships are hierarchical, okay? Which role is a robot going to play? The elder brother or the younger brother? The wife or the husband? The emperor or the minister? You know what I mean? It's about hierarchy.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now, yes, I think just see two. First, I think they can help me with some emotional training tools for moral cohesion. It's just a tool, no problems. But in Confucian's idea, we others have a goodness inside in my heart. We just need some good environment to impose it, to respond for this. So if we use the social robot to help me training the emotionally, or to help me give me us a good environment. For example, maybe I will back home to help my sons learn some Chinese, learn some maths, but he's not want me do this. Now he's 10 years. He has some his own ideas. So maybe I may be angry for this. He may be angry too. My sons angry. But if there's a social robot capture my emotion, my face, can fear I will be angry. So there is a voice come here, lightly, and very good. It's very good. You should not be angry. He will give me tips. Maybe I can control my emotion, so I can deal with where me and my son's relationship. For me, I will not be so angry because I hear the robot's voice, some tips. Let me feel cool down. So this is just an example from the emotional tour. The second is technology intentions for virtual. In Chinese, it's important. Chinese Confucius idea will not and never see the robot as like humans. No, it's just a tool, it's just a machine, because it's not alive. It's just alive. And the Confucius idea, it's see the heaven, see the earth, see the humans, see the plants, see the animals. They have the same parents. The same parents. The father is the heaven and the mother is earth, because they are alive. They are organic. So the control the heaven and the earth. Generate this. But the robot just a machine. So not this circle, not this heaven, earth, humans, plants, animals, not in this circle. It's just a tool. But this tool is important too. In a lot of Chinese culture, especially in Confucius culture, our ancient often use how to say it, implements to stand for Li is virtual property. In this implements, in the tool, it's have a spirit. Spirit means it's order. You should do something, have some order. It can contain these tools. It stands for this. So if we develop the robot as a technological intensities of modern virtual implements, it will be better. Just I saw you the robot Peter. The Peter will say hello in the supermarkets, will carry you in the hospital, will say hello or say thanks to in the schools, and the children, the students see so polite robots, so he can remind some things should learn, should order some polite ways to communicate with others. I just want to.
Thank you very much. If you have more questions to Professor Wang, you can just write it in the chat. So now we move to the next presentation, and this is mine. My name is Irena, and I am from XIS Institute. I'm a cultural anthropologist. So when I talk about any kind of topic, I talk more in a practical reason. I'm not the theorist. Yes. Do you need to go? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
I will close. I will go. Yes.
Yes, sure, go. So, so apart from being a cultural anthropologist, I work for IBM in Austria. I'm very happy that Susanna is here. She used to work in IBM for over 20 years, over 30 years. So she's a real IBMer, as IBMers like to say. And in IBM, I'm currently a project manager, but I also am a data analyst, and I work a lot with artificial intelligence searching machines, basically with artificial intelligence programs, which we also do in IBM. But since I'm not an IT person, I do like the final things. So I do like more like quality tests. Like I just check if the results are correct, if it's not correct. So I just manually do the stuff. So at the end of the day, we need humans to make a proper quality. So today I decided to talk about ChatGPT because yesterday we talked about it quite a lot. We talked about this natural language models quite a lot recently. So let's talk about ChatGPT. So my first question is to all of you. Who of you has never used ChatGPT as far? Raffaela, and the rest has used. Okay.
For me, verboten.
Okay, for Raffaela, it's verboten. And those of you who used, for which purpose did you use it? Does anyone want to share? Yes.
I just used it to control whether students, when writing the seminar works,
Yes.
are copying the responses from ChatGPT.
Okay. So you do the quality check, the quality check, if the check.
We have a program for this.
Yeah, the plagiarism program.
Yeah.
Yes. The plagiarism, but that's present for the universities for many years before the.
Compilatio,
Yeah, but it was present still before the ChatGPT times. Anyone else would like to share for which purpose uses ChatGPT? Apart from, yes, Susanna?
Well, for learning to
Yeah.
work with a new technology or
Yes.
with all LLMs, not only ChatGPT, and to know how it works, what does not work, how should I, how much care I should take
Yes.
when using it.
Yeah, exactly. So when we talk about this natural language processing stuff, so ChatGPT is actually a chat bot because we chat with this. And it uses natural language processing models to stimulate a human conversation. When we talk about artificial intelligence, usually social scientists talk about it as like very, very mysterious thing. It is not, because you just have a program which uses algorithms and it just puts a huge amount of data inside, and it uses literally machine learning algorithms. So you program it that you get certain information for the certain response. And with the chatbots, it's important that you use proper prompts. Prompts is a key word here. You really need to write a specific question to get the most correct answer you want. And these chatbots, they're very great for getting a creative content. They can summarize the text. They can translate the text. They can generate ideas. So they are highly, highly pragmatic. And ChatGPT is probably the most popular product, but there are other available. IBM also has one. It's called IBM Consulting Advantage. Yesterday, Professor Kang talked about DeepSeek. So it's this newest Chinese product, but also Microsoft has it. It's Microsoft Copilot. So there are many products, but ChatGPT is still the most popular one because it just works in the best way. It's easiest. And even on IBM, we use it. Like we use it more than IBM Consulting Advantage because it has just bigger database of the data, just the biggest one. And I never tried DeepSeek, so I don't know. But with the DeepSeek, you need to register to get it. And with ChatGPT, I think the first 10 prompts, you can still use it without the registration. So it's also more convenient. For DeepSeek, you really need to register yourself to give your data, and it's for free, but you can do now. Wait. Do you see the next slide? Aye. Okay, I will repair it. I will. No, it's good that you say, because there are
Go to full screen. You are in the menu in the overview.
Okay, it's always complicated with this. Do you see now the second one? It's nonsense now. You don't see. Okay, the people see there, and then you see like that. Okay, you will see like that. What can I say? It's okay. So why do we use it? As I did my small research among all the people that usually I'm in touch, and I ask everyone who uses ChatGPT, why do you use ChatGPT? And this is the results I get. So when you work on something and you need an immediate information, you ask ChatGPT, it gives you within a second. You get an information. You're looking for something, I don't know, you ask, what are, I don't know, the best restaurants in some city, you ask, in the second you get the information, you already have something what you can use. It's really great for people who cannot write. Right now, if you work in a company or somewhere, you need to write a recommendation letter, you need to write an email, and you're a person who cannot write. There are people like that. Writing is very difficult. And then ChatGPT is really your savior. You write what kind of text you need, and you get it within a minute, and you use it, and it's done. It's properly written. It's nice and elegant, and you don't feel like an idiot when you need to write something and you spend hours on that. It really saves time because it's very fast. All these chatbots, they give an answer really within a few seconds. So in the past, when we searched for information, we really needed time to search for this information. We needed hours, minutes, and here you get a result within a seconds. When you need to write a text, it really provides you a good quality text, like they're proofread, they're grammatical, they have good vocabulary. So you don't really need to spend time on thinking how to do that. When you have a ready text and you need to proofread that, you give it to ChatGPT. It gives you very good quality stuff. Like if I use it even once that I had to send an abstract, and I thought, and I wrote an abstract and I put it to chat and wrote, please proofread it so it's in a good, and it was really good. I was very surprised. So it proofreads, it can translate. And the last interesting thing, many people use ChatGPT as a coach. Like the coaching was one of the main, it was a very, very big business in the last years. There were coaches for everything, for business, private coaches, therapists, whatever, and they were all expensive. And ChatGPT really replaces that. If you are on a diet, you want to lose your weight, you write a proper prompt to ChatGPT, like I don't know, 45 years old, I weigh this and this, I want to lose my weight, please prepare me a plan, what should I do? And it writes you a plan, step by step, day by day, what you should do to lose your weight and how to live healthy. So it's a coach which you have for free, and it's great. What is very interesting, I think I need to change it so you also see it, because it's nonsense that you don't see it in a proper way. Wait. I need to change it here, I think. No, one thing, but I want to see that you see that. It's a nonsense a bit that we have it like that. I will stop share and I will change it here again. No worries. Here I need to. So one is another interesting thing when it comes to the ChatGPT. When I asked people how do they use it, I'm friends with many artists, okay, and artists are very specific people, and many of them have psychological problems. They do have. What can you say? They have, yes, Raffaela can confirm it. They have psychological problems. They need a therapist, but therapists are very expensive, you know. So what do they do? I want to share it again. So yeah. So what do? They started to use ChatGPT as a therapist.
It doesn't work online.
What can I
You
do?
can chat GPT.
Can you see it now online? Never mind. It doesn't work? Okay, what can I do to you? Do you see? No, okay, never mind. Okay.
This real life example.
Yes, so I'm going to tell you. So I interviewed my very good friend who is an artist who uses ChatGPT as a therapist already for a couple of months. And it's a big thing. Like I found in the Nature magazine, Nature is a big magazine, a big scientific magazine, in the department Humanities and Social Sciences Communication, there was an article, The Usefulness of ChatGPT for Psychotherapists and Patients. It's a big thing that people are writing that a lot of people use ChatGPT as a therapist. And I asked a friend about her experience, and here is what she told me. I have a large experience with the psychiatric system for many years. So I know what I don't want to get. I have no money for a proper treatment, so it is currently my only possibility to find a calm with myself. I have just programmed ChatGPT in the way that I need, as to be my ADHD coach or my executive coach, to solve certain tasks, to combine such and such therapy schools. I could see when the program worked well and when not. It is not currently on the level of the professional therapy, but for the critical situations, for people who struggle with a strong feeling of fear, it can be very helpful. However, you really need to know how to use the prompts. So it's a person who struggles all the time with the panic attacks, with fears. And when she knows that the situation is difficult, but for example, she has some meeting, she has some session that she needs to present, she sits with ChatGPT and she writes, I feel this and that bad, I have this and that thing to do, write me what to do. And it gives her really the step-by-step suggestions, what she can do to overcome this situation. So it is really a thing. And I even read the statistics that in this young group, let's say in the group until 40 years old, from 30 to 40, people who, let's say, use any kind of psychological help, half of them use now ChatGPT for that because they have no money. This group of people, they have no money. And even in Vienna, like if you go to the therapy, the regular session is 150 euros per session. It's very expensive. So I decided to make an experiment with ChatGPT and I just wrote a prompt. I feel depressed. And here is the answer I get. I'm really sorry if you're feeling this way. Depression can be incredibly heavy and isolating. You're not alone in this. Many people can go in this and this and that. And, it's very, very decent. Yesterday, Daniel Boehm also showed how he had this interaction. He talked about loneliness among the oldest generation, that old people, especially who go to the care houses, that sometimes they suffer from loneliness. And he also made an experiment with ChatGPT that he wrote about. He had just made an experiment. Is it like sociable? Is it friendly? How this interaction goes? So here the interaction really goes like, if you feel really bad, you can really communicate with ChatGPT and you can have quite interesting, let's say, experience with that. So there are many positive stuff, but we also need to remember that it's still a program. It's not a real human being, and the results we get are not always correct and proper. If it comes to the technical aspects, very often it gives false positive answers and what we called in the IT language hallucinations, that it gives you some answer, but it's not properly correct. And here we really need to to check if this information is really correct. Like even last time I had a case that we were doing some renovation and we got a bill for the renovation of the roof, and my husband just decided to check if this bill is correct. So he asked ChatGPT for this and that services, how much that would cost. And it received the answer. It was like twice lower price than it was on the bill. And I said, we need to check it. So we called a colleague who is an architect, and he said, no, this Austrian bill is fully correct. These are the prices they are. And ChatGPT gives you, like, it searches the average price of everything. And the average price doesn't mean that the case you have is really correct. So here, always check the sources and always verify if the information you get is really correct. Because even if you get the information, you can always Google that to see, just make a double effort and check if it's really like that. Here, it's also the matter of trust that we as humans, like the generation of my mom, she has big problems with the internet sources and also with the social media, because she's from the generation which really trusted the written source, that there was a newspaper, the newspaper wrote the content, and you believed in that. The newspaper wrote the news, and you believed the news. So now when you have all kinds of sources and information, and any random person can be an expert about anything and has a YouTube channel and talk about some nonsense, it doesn't mean that all the information you get is correct. So you always need to check the sources and just not trust the information you receive. And another big problem is that really this postmodern social loneliness, that people are isolating themselves at homes, the family relations are broken, the loneliness among society is bigger and bigger, and people really run into this, also into ChatGPT, into these chatbots. It's like a matter of, it's like a remedy for this loneliness, that at least you have some sort of communication and you receive some sort of help. However, in the past, it was like normal. If you feel bad, you call a friend, you go out, I don't know, to a beer or to have a walk. Nowadays, it's not like that. People spend time with ChatGPT and ask what to do, which is insane. Another thing which is maybe more an issue here in Europe, that, for example, in United States or in some Asian countries, that we really talk a lot about the privacy and about our private data and about data safety, because the information, the prompts we give, the program, it gathers that and it later sells as a data. And for example, in America, when I check, ChatGPT is really now the highest thing for sales. Like, you use it to check out what kind of, also they sell the information, like they show the statistics, what kind of things people are asking for, what is like the most sourced type of information, so you can adapt your business according to that. Like, if people are looking for some certain, I don't know, what is like the best thing for something, so the ChatGPT, the company, OpenAI, they provide the data to the third companies that people are interested in this and that, so you can adopt your business according to that. I even found some interesting tips from the sales companies in America. So you can also, use ChatGPT to generate the information to gather more customers, like, to see how to check how you can write the proper prompts and how people would write the prompt to get your product as an answer, so you can boost your sales. I did an experiment and I asked ChatGPT, because like I'm personally interested in gardening. So I asked what kind of tomato seeds will be the best to plant on a balcony in Vienna. So it gives me the different types, and at the end, it gives me the list of shops where I can buy it, always. Whenever you ask for something, at the end, it always gives you the list where you can find the products. So it's really a business model that you connect really the information that you look for with the product, and we are, as users of that, we are not aware of that at the end of the day, it's still a product, it's for sale, and we as participants, we are also for sale. Everything is for sale. So it's another nice aspect of capitalism. Then we also had yesterday nice conversation with Tomáš and with you about the future of how it all will go. So I asked ChatGPT, what does he think about his own future? What are all the prognoses for the further usage of artificial intelligence chatbots? Fantastic. He's very positive about it. The future is rapidly evolving with the usage expected to grow significantly and to expand on every industry and every aspect of life. So customer service, healthcare, education, industry, everything. Because it's a very easy tool. It really, you can get the super fast information on a good actually level, very good level, and people will use it because we as humans, we are still a bit lazy and we want to get fast product, good product in a fast way. So that's it from my side. Do you have any questions or any comments? Okay, so now we move to the next presentation.
Okay, so hello, my name is Yuriy Myelkov. I come from Ukraine, in Kiev. I am a research fellow at the Institute of Higher Education of National Academy of Educational Sciences of Ukraine. I'm very grateful to Wolfgang and to all the organizers who welcomed and invited me to join this very interesting conference. And my topic is the place and role of humans in the age of generative AI. That is, well, the question that many discussion has led to because of all the possibilities of ChatGPT and other things. So what are left to humans and what should we do with it? You see, the challenges of generative AI were discussed both yesterday and today. When asked about the future perspectives, many AI specialists even talk about some possibility of human extinction or our inability to control the new technologies. But anyway, the most evident problem is the threat of unemployment. You see there were already some strikes because of ChatGPT and it's forcing people out of employment. But I do not actually believe it is possible because when the World Economic Forum predicts that in 20 to 50 years, a lot of such professions like truck driver, surgeon, salesperson, and accountant, mathematician will become obsolete because ChatGPT would do that task. But I actually think that's not the case because even if ChatGPT can translate, it can write small papers, it does not do it on a very quality level. Well, I do not fear because I have tried ChatGPT just to check what can it do and what it cannot do. And as I used to work as a translator myself, and I can see that about 90% it translates quite well, but the rest is impossible to translate. ChatGPT will never translate as good, as well as a human person because it helps, it does some task, but a human translator has to check the quality of what is done. So if I am a good writer, I have nothing to fear. If I am a bad writer, ChatGPT will replace me on the job market in 20 years, that's for sure. So the problem is not in the fact that it can do, but in the quality it can do. Well, on the other hand, we had, like last summer here in the Institute, we had a meeting discussing the Swiss movie about the end of humanity, like many so-called influential people like Elon Musk and Yuval Harari and Mark Zuckerberg, they predict that AI is the end of humanity, right? Because everything human does is processing information, and AI can process information in a better way than humans do. So humans are becoming obsolete, and we can talk about transhumanism and other different things. Well, I'm sorry, I do not believe in transhumanism or posthumanism. I believe in old humanism because nothing is new. Nothing is new. That is not a new idea. When I tried to research when it came to be, I discovered that 200 years ago, Charles Babbage, who was the inventor of the first kind of a computer, used to say practically the same thing. He said that machinery is good because it affords against the inattention, the idleness, and the dishonesty of human agents. So machine can do because, well, humans are not very good in being honest, being attentive, being not lazy. But, well, Charles Babbage was a misanthropist in this regard, so his personal view are rather grim about humanity. In a different, Karl Marx, who was one of the few thinkers of the 19th century who appreciated Charles Babbage and his work on factories, presented a complete opposite view. According to Marx, machine does not free human from labor, but it frees human labor from any content, any sense of this labor. So while in manufacturing, hand manufacture, machine helped human. In a contemporary factory, human becomes a part of a machine. That's what Marx said, and I think nothing changed for the last 200 years. However, Babbage is exactly right about free occupation being very wearisome and, well, non-human when we talk about some series of repetition of the same fact. So, machine can replace humans in non-human jobs. That is good and that is correct, I think. Because, well, the same when computers were human, there is a book under such title by David Greer, When Computers Were Human. Until 1940s, computer was a human profession. What is a computer? Is a person who does computing. This is a picture of American Aerospace Agency, which is called Computers at Work. Computers are, you see, mostly women, because women were then were less paid workers, but very attentive workers. They did small calculation, simple arithmetic calculation. And after in 1950, already in the 1950s, computers have replaced humans in doing that tedious, monotonous, routine labor job. Well, that worked quite fine. Nobody could force human to do such job that computer can do better. But it doesn't mean that any job is as good for computer as simple calculation. And when we talk about 1940s, that was idea, of course, of a problem of is a thinking machine compatible to human? Can machine think? Can a machine think? The most popular way of putting that question, which of course resulted in the Turing test, but Alan Turing did simplify a lot. Did simplify this question about the similarity between machine and human just to a possibility of a machine to be perceived as a human person when we are talking with. It is difficult to say. Many researchers disagree about does ChatGPT perform the Turing test. But even in the 1960s, there were programs like ELIZA, which did claim to have passed the Turing test. On the other hand, that criterion of passing a Turing test is a very simplified one, as I said. It does not entitle us to say about computers being thinking entities. Like the very after of that ELIZA machine, Joseph Weizenbaum in the 1960s, already in the 1960s, used to say that the problem is that is a very simplistic notion of what intelligence is that has dominated the popular and scientific thought. Because yes, human faces problems no machine could possibly be made to face. Human person is not a machine. Even if human processes information and machine processes information, they do that in a different way. We cannot say it is the same type of intelligence. It is human and machine are different entities in that regard. Well, I can refer to one more thinker who is Pavel Kopnin. He is unknown outside of my country. He is the founder of Kiev Philosophy School I belong to. And he responded in a very similar way because it was his idea that, his idea as well, because Professor Giovagnoli used to talk about that yesterday, but it was Pavel Kopnin in 1961 who used to say about machine as a tool. You know, it is not telescope that watches the sky. It is astronomer who watches the sky using the telescope. It is not an excavator machine that digs the earth, digs ground. It is a human person who digs the ground using the excavator as a tool. So, machine thinking has its limited possibilities for its development, but it is not independent thinking. It is just a kind of subordinate moment, a side, an aspect, a certain form of human thinking. So, it is not that machine does not think, but it is human think with the help of a machine. Well, if those reference I quote may sound too remote from contemporary technology, I can make one more reference. I can make one more reference to the ideas of Jaron Lanier, who is a contemporary scientist. He is one of the postmodernist thinkers, but he has coined one term called virtual reality. He is the author of the concept of virtual reality. However, 2 years ago, he published a paper with a loud title, "There is no AI," because according to him, it is not intelligent, it is not artificial intelligence, it is just, well, he said that ChatGPT is like a large Wikipedia. They, new programs like ChatGPT just mash up work done by human mind. There is some innovation, but it is quantitative, not qualitative, because, well, it is more usable, because, more data are being processed, but there is nothing qualitatively different from any other machine. So if we're coming back to to summarize what I said in such a terminological form, that it is, the term artificial intelligence is coined already, but it is not very correct, because intelligence is a very limited form of what intellect is. It is not intellect, it is not consciousness, it is just some form of rational information processing. It is not intelligence in a broad philosophical understanding of what intelligence is. Processing information does not mean creating knowledge. And if artificial intelligence could be called generative, it does not mean it can be creative. Well, if we do not talk about hallucination. Hallucination is, a form of creation, but it is not something we want to, and it is a very bad thing. It is a very bad thing. So the main, my idea is that the very first thing we have to mind, we have to talk about is that AI is not a subject. It's not a subject. It is not an actor. It is not an agent. It is just a tool for a subject to do something. So it can never be a subject. Only a human can be a subject. Well, a human can be both an object, human can be a tool, but only human can be a subject. And artificial intelligence is always a tool. So let me think an example of any weapon. Any weapon is a tool that can be used by one human to kill another human. We cannot blame an atomic bomb for killing people. because it was not an atomic bomb decision to be dropped on Japan or whatever reason. Even the human person who pressed the button to drop the bomb, he is not to blame, because he is a tool as well. Only the person who issued orders to drop the bomb is the subject of this action. So it can be, tools can be very advanced. Weapon could be traceable or follow and find its goal, but it is not to blame. It is not a subject of any action, not only moral action or conscious action or intelligent action. Artificial intelligence is a tool, like Professor Giovagnoli used to tell us yesterday. And so the question is, what is the difference between human intelligence and artificial intelligence? Well, I say that such several differences I can outline. It is the openness. Artificial intelligence can only perform closed tasks, linear tasks. It cannot think out of the box, so to say. Even with all the machine learning, it is just following algorithm. If then. It's a linear thinking. I say it's a linear thinking. So not to say about the morality, it is just a pure rational, pure algorithmic, pure very simplistic form of intelligence. An example of openness of thinking I like to show is some experiment conducted by Ukrainian psychologist Alexander Luria in 1931 in Middle Asia. He asked some question, a logical riddle. Local people who got different ages, different education level. He said, if we suppose that there are no camels in Germany, and Berlin is the capital of Germany. Can you tell me, please, if there are any camels in Berlin? Simple logic. When Luria asked this question to young school children, they replied without hesitation, no, it's logic. There is no, Berlin is in Germany, there are no camels in Germany, therefore there are no camels in Berlin. But when he asked this question to older people who were not educated, who did not go to school, they replied, on the contrary, yes, there are camels in Berlin. But when Luria asked them why did they answer so, they said, well, it is a large city, so there could be some camel in a bazaar, in a market, anything happens, you know? So it is not logical, but it is more realistic. It is thinking out of the box. Something, if we follow the logical rules, we can do. By definition, we can do it. So the rational thinking is like Asimina. You know, you cannot choose between two equally grounded options. It is a logical choice. It is an irrational choice. If we follow algorithm, if we follow linear if-then logic, we are to starve, we are to die because we cannot choose. We cannot make a moral choice, which is not grounded. That's why I call it an opposition of linear and non-linear thinking. Linear thinking is following the rules, is following algorithm, but non-linear thinking is evaluating the options. Something is more desirable for us, something is less desirable, and if we do not follow our desirability, then we can go anywhere and without any good outcome. So that's what human can do, and artificial intelligence can never do, even with all machine learning, because it is a machine, it is a tool, it is not a subject. You can ask ChatGPT about anything, but I never heard ChatGPT asking me about something because he wanted to do some research or, you know.
Yes, but yesterday Daniel asked, do you have any questions to me? And ChatGPT answered, no, it's enough that you ask me questions. So
yeah, but the problem with ChatGPT is that hallucination. You know, I have to do more work to check what does he answer me. Yes. Because I tried it a couple of times, but I discovered that it is more simple for me to do research myself than to check the research done by ChatGPT. You know, it is even more time consuming because I have to double check it. You know, like with the translation. I can do the translation myself, but I will still have to check the quality of the translation ChatGPT gives me. So we can never get out of human translators, writers, and so on. That's why is a conclusion. As a conclusion, what is the perspective of humanism in the age of generative artificial intelligence? Well, perspective is not so grim. I am much more skeptical to the possibilities of artificial intelligence than Daniel or some other people who used to talk about it yesterday. But I am more optimistic about the perspective of humanism. Why? Because the availability of such tools as ChatGPT requires us to be more human. It requires us to focus on such tasks that no artificial intelligence can do, only humans can do. So that empowers us with it adds us possibilities for human work. So, like on the example of when computers were human, it is no bad that we no longer have to do some repetitive routine labor that can now be done by ChatGPT, but we have to control it. We have to check. We have to make sure it does not hallucinate. So we are becoming more powerful, but only in the condition that we are consciousness of what we can do and what we can't do, what AI can do and what AI can never do and will never do, because with all the machine learning, it is not a subject of agent and actor of activity. So I say that humanist values gain much more importance, and the threat lies in our inability to be human, and not in our inability to be machines. We are not machines, and we will never be transhumanist keyboard, like some promises us. If someone can process more data, it is very nice, because we have more time for our human activity, to transfer it into knowledge, to create knowledge. AI can never create. It cannot give us knowledge. It can give us some help, some assistance in doing our creative work. What humans can do and what AI cannot and will never do. Thanks for your attention.
Hello everyone. To those that do not know me, my name is Asimina Koukou. I have a PhD in communication science. I defended my thesis in 2019 here at the University of Vienna with my supervisor, Wolfgang Hofkirchner. Today I'm living in France, and currently I work as a postdoctoral researcher at the University Côte d'Azur in France. My research is about the role of national and European policies in the application of new innovation technologies in film industry. And at the same time, with my colleagues, we explore how the new immersive media, new immersive technologies like augmented reality, extended reality, virtual reality have an impact on the spectators' capabilities, capacities, cognitive capacities, and at the same time at their creative skills. Very recently, actually before 2 months, we started thinking of applying artificial intelligence in film industry, in cinema. However, from a personal interest, I'm here today to talk about artificial intelligence in journalism. So it's just a preliminary work I am doing, and it's just because I care about the future of journalism in this environment of artificial intelligence and technological development everywhere, advancements. So here I have, as I'm really influenced by the cinema industry, I found that there was a movie in 1968 which was called 2001: A Space Odyssey. And this was a movie in which Dr. Bowman was locked out of the spacecraft, and he asked later on the computer, which was called HAL, to open the doors. But he had in mind at the same time that this artificial intelligence assistant would set off. Okay. Sensing this threat, the computer replied to the spaceman that I deny to do so, marking in this way a profound moment of conflict between human control and machine autonomy. So in this movie, we can see how technology could affect the world in which we live in. And even though we created machines and computers to serve us, do they really serve us? So I'm just posing the question for a beginning. But I continue further by saying that today, artificial intelligence has finally moved away from science fiction, and it has become part of our everyday lives. So we can see that it affects our communication with other people. It also affects transportation, entertainment, movies, cinema, health system. We have all experiences from virtual or text-based assistants like Siri, Alexa, and ChatGPT that we talked a lot about today and yesterday, and they assist us, okay, in everyday tasks. We also have artificial intelligence-powered technologies that drive innovation, for example, in smart cities, sustainability, and even in scientific research. But what happens in journalism? So in journalism, artificial intelligence helps the creators to boost news productivity and news dissemination. But at the same time, artificial intelligence raises new ethical and legal dilemmas. So this is my topic. So I really thank Yuriy for the previous presentation. I'm not going to be really in detail in all that, but I would like to give you just a few points of how artificial intelligence came into life. So apart from the movie that I mentioned at the beginning of my lecture, artificial intelligence could be said that it has an embryonic start in Aristotle's original thought about human reasoning that could be systematized. So it could have a connection with artificial intelligence. Secondly, in 1950s, we heard previously that Alan Turing published a paper which is called Computing Machinery and Intelligence, and he introduced the concept of the Turing test which aimed to determine whether a machine can exhibit intelligent behavior. And later on, we had in 1966 from an MIT professor who was named Josef Weizenbaum, the first chatbot, which was named Eliza. And here we can see a sample exchange of the machine, of the psychotherapist, with the patient, okay? And he explained, and Weizenbaum explained how the chatbot in general worked. So we can see that here in this dialogue. Later on, so we come today to the chat GPT, okay, which is the most recent development of computer communication, computer-human communication, and it is representative of a conversational system which is based on large language model, generative pre-trained transformer. But why am I mentioning all that? Because artificial intelligence is in our lives today. And artificial intelligence tools have revolutionized in several ways media industry. So they can be used by journalists and other creators to assist them in the stage of research, in the stage of writing, in the stage of editing, even in publishing something, a text, for example, an article. How do they use these artificial intelligence tools in media industry? First of all, by machine learning. Machine learning provides systems with the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. Here I would like to mention an example, the example of Texty website, which was an Ukrainian website, an example of journalistic survey that used machine learning in order to investigate the illegal amber drilling in the north parts of the country, of Ukraine, using this machine learning in satellite images from 2014 to 2016. And their goal in this website was to assess the environmental impact of this illegal drilling in forests and other agricultural land of this place. Secondly, artificial intelligence tools in media industry can be used by automating translation. So journalists, reporters can use artificial intelligence tools to translate texts from one language to another instantly. And this, of course, enables cross-border journalism. I have the example of Panama Papers here. It was an international survey that brought to light not only the dark sides of global finance involving politicians and corporations, markets, etc., but it also brought to light the collaboration between journalists in a global level. And lastly, I would like to mention the use of chatbots, language models from the side of journalists. They make use of chatbots by how? By giving them a question, getting the answer, and then they can also generate some content based on their preferences, okay? So here we have the example of ChatGPT that we have thoroughly analyzed. But what are the uses and the opportunities then that artificial intelligence gives to journalists today? So first of all, artificial intelligence helps journalists in news gathering. And this, according to a survey from the Journalism AI, almost 3/4 of news agencies, news organizations today make use of artificial intelligence in news gathering and news collection. Almost, as I said, 3/4, okay, of news agencies. So how they do it? First of all, by speech to text and text extraction, by using tools to automate transcription, to extract text from images and structure data after gathering. Here I have the examples of Colibri, speech text, Otter, Whisper, etc. And at the same time, by using Google Trends or other data mining services like DataMine and RapidMiner, which are used to identify the trending topics, to detect news of interest and gather data from various sources to uncover stories. To continue further, artificial intelligence tools are not used by journalists only in news gathering. They are also used in news production and distribution. They can do that. There is a term which is called automated journalism, algorithmic journalism today. So this refers to automated writing and algorithms for tasks like data analysis, content recommendation, and audience engagement. To give you an example, in 2014, Associated Press, with the use of artificial intelligence, managed to publish an average of 300 articles per quarter. And this was used further by Associated Press, and they published even more in the following years. We also, journalists also, with the use of artificial intelligence, can create content. They can create articles, stories, quotes, generated by computer programs and artificial intelligence software rather than humans. I have again another example. It's the example of Heliograph from Washington Post, which is an artificial intelligence tool developed by Washington Post just to generate news content. And it was initially used during the Rio Olympic Games to produce short reports on events like medal results, which were then used by many other platforms and other websites and blogs. But it has also been used for political coverage. So they have also used it for election, for promoting and for covering election results and other stories. One last thing in which artificial intelligence tools are really useful for journalists is that they help journalists collect data. They can also they can collect data from their users by understanding their interests and by tailoring then their news dissemination efforts. I have another example here for my BBC. Artificial intelligence helps journalists not only in news collection, news gathering, and news production, news dissemination, but it can also it can help journalists restore and analyze information, and then artificial intelligence tools help journalists to attract public attention by disseminating information that corresponds to the user's preferences. So we come to a very common, let's say, term now, which is called personalized news. So what it is about? Personalization has to do with how is a form of user-to-system interactivity, let's say the definition, that uses a set of technological features to adapt the content, delivery, and arrangement of the communication to individual users' explicitly registered and or implicitly determined preferences. And we have two different types of personalization. A personalization which is explicit, so users input preferences, and implicit, which infers preferences from data collected. Personalized content is really present everywhere, okay? Has become ubiquitous across various platforms. We can see it in social media, in social networking sites, in e-commerce, in news websites, okay? But while personalization of news offers significant benefits by enhancing users' experience, it also carries the risk of creating echo chambers. And an echo chamber occurs when journalists and media outlets reinforce existing beliefs and perspectives. In this way, users, readers, viewers are primarily exposed to information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs, leading to a limited view in the end of the world. So it has very negative connotations, okay? Because in this way, the echo chambers can create confirmation bias, polarization, misinformation, and then, for me, the most important is reduced critical thinking, okay? I'm not going to explain further each term. I will try to continue because I have a lot to say. At some point, having all this in mind, we come to what we call fake news, okay? So yes, technology has helped a lot journalists to produce content, to disseminate content, to personalize news, but at the same time, it's a tool that constructs deliberately information with the intention to deceive and mislead the public for some certain benefits, okay? And there are 5 types of fake news. They can use, for example, parodies, hoaxes, propaganda, clickbait, conspiracy theories. And they all contain different levels of falsehood and are presented in different ways, but all can mislead the public. And today, in the internet era, it is easy to receive different kinds of news and information in large volume, which places people in a situation of information overload. People lack time to consider and verify the authenticity and quality of information, and this is bad. Fake news has a higher chance to spread around nowadays, and people are more likely to believe this information, and this can then lead to negative consequences to individuals and society in general. I found a very interesting fake news industry, which is called Media Vibes CSNC. Do you know it? So it's a Belgian company who owns more than 180 URLs devoted to creating and spreading fake news on the web, really, and on social networks. Okay, and you can see in the brackets also the links that they are using. So the company is also responsible for the creation of the user-generated fake news concept by providing internet users with an application to develop their own fake news and to spread them on their social networks. So it's not only journalists, okay? It's also the public. We are people, normal people like us. The main idea behind the business is supported by the do-it-yourself media. And fake news can consist of jokes, sarcasm that are written by ordinary people. Apart from that, there are some websites that the URL is similar to some of the most popular and well-reputed news stations, such as the ABC. As you can see here, the official URL of the station's website is abcnews.go.com, and this type of fake news now are available at the abcnews.com.co. So yes, people can easily be manipulated. And at some point, with the use of artificial intelligence, we abandoned a little bit the idea of fake news, and we come to what we call deep fakes. Okay, so the deep fake phenomenon. The advent of deep fake technology poses negative implications and risks to journalism. So human interference in recorded images and sounds is not a modern occurrence. For many years, people have manipulated data to serve their own purposes. A classic example is the example of the Cotinsley ferries in 1917. It was a series of photographs that was taken by two cousins in England, and they mentioned that in the photos appeared some ferries. These photos sparked years of debate, and with many believing them to be authentic until the early 1980s, when the cousins admitted the pictures were fake. At the same time, we come to the 1930s with Stalin and Hitler, who removed individuals from official photographs, attempting to erase them from history. So this is a very clear example of how politics can influence public perception through the spread of altered data. So they were used as a tool of propaganda and control, okay? And today, apart from photo or image manipulation, we come forward to video manipulation, okay, with the use of artificial intelligence tools. And video manipulation refers to matching one person's face to another's body and sync the voice, facial expressions, and movements to another as well. So, deepfake comes from the two terms deep learning and fake. And it means that audio and video altered through machine learning and deep learning techniques for maximum real-time realism in fakery. The term was originally came from a Reddit user that in 2017 used such techniques to realistically and dynamically add faces of celebrities to pornographic content, and is now widely used for any kind of content, the politically charged included. Initially, deepfake required some expertise, but today it's accessible to everyone through very easy applications. So deepfake news can influence politics and also personal lives. And according to Deep Trace cybersecurity firm study in 2019, 96% of deepfake content today is pornographic. So technology raises threats like revenge porn, blackmail, and harassment. What kind of methods do the deepfake use? So we have three methods: the lip syncing, okay? So how we manipulate a person's lip movements to match a different audio track. The puppet master, mimicking a target's facial expressions, eye movements, and head gestures. And face swap, replacing one person's face in a video with another's, okay? These are also used by journalists, okay? And of course, deepfake can have some positive implications. And I will mention just the fact that in Dalí Museum in Florida, they use the deepfake to technology to resurrect the artist presenting his work to visitors. So it's really important when you go to a museum to have the dead artist or I don't know, painter explaining you how he created his work. But at the same time, this has some negative connotations for journalism. So deepfakes may undermine journalistic credibility and trust, okay, by challenging the principle that seeing is believing, creating uncertainty about the authenticity of visual and auditory evidence. It can also have an impact in misinformation, as I mentioned earlier. So digital media have amplified the potential for the spread of false or misleading information, challenging the traditional role of journalists as gatekeepers of truth. In the COVID situation, the COVID pandemic exacerbated the problem of misinformation, with journalists facing the challenge of distinguishing between credible scientific information and unsubstantiated claims. So it's really hard for them to understand what is true and not. Of course, there are several verification techniques for journalists that could help them verify if the information provided is credible. Traditionally, journalists were using direct observation, or they could interact with other individuals or with other with communities. They could also make a document verification and fact-checking. So they were doing that on themselves, so there was a human factor. Today, with the use of artificial intelligence algorithms or blockchain technologies, they have developed that. And nowadays, they can examine, for example, their texts and videos or images, data by artificial intelligence tools to find patterns or spot falsified content and cross-reference data with trustworthy sources. But is this really something that they could trust? And we, as readers, as spectators, that we could also trust? So several limitations of fact-checking, okay, of verification of the information. I'm not going to analyze that because I ran out of time, I think. But I would like to focus a little bit more. So yes, artificial intelligence is a tool which can help the work of journalists, but at the same time, they need to be really cautious on how they use it. Because as we previously said, the most important thing is the human intelligence. So what do we need to do, or what do journalists and media outlets need to do. So they need to develop some internal protocols to show their commitment to accuracy and fairness. An internal protocol in media organizations, media agencies. They need to have a rigorous fact-checking and multiple source verification. Of course, combining it with their human ability to verify data. Clear guidelines for handling sensitive information. We also need to define comprehensive social media policies. The most important thing for me is the training of journalists in media literacy and critical thinking. And transparency in editorial processes and ownership as well. Apart from that, to become a little, to focus a little bit more in training and education for journalists, today we need to equip journalists with core journalistic principles like truth-seeking, fairness, independence. They need to be independent by using these tools. Are they really independent? They also need to have a good training in media law and ethics to protect journalists and public interest. Apart from that, something needs to be done in the field of digital literacy. Proficiency in verifying online information and data journalism. They are not experts. We are not experts. How can we deal with this problem? And we also need to strengthen a little bit the fact-checking and investigative reporting skills. Journalists have forgotten that. And then we need to foster a culture of continuous learning and professional development and empower then journalists to adapt to the evolving media landscape. It's a very big responsibility for journalists to look for to engage in fact-checking and multiple sourcing. I finished, okay? Okay. Journalists are responsible and they need to be the carriers of truth and accuracy. And apart from that, they need to be independent to uphold objectivity and avoid conflicts of interest with politicians or with markets. They need to be transparent about the sources they use, the methods. They need to engage openly with criticism and dialogue with the audience. And lastly, their more important role is to serve the public interest, because this is their role. And in this way, they could foster a more informed and engaged society. Of course, in this legal part, there are a lot of things need to be done. I didn't have the time to find all the laws, for example, of the European Union, what they have done till now. It's something that I would like to look more in the future. But journalists must be aware of privacy and copyright laws as well, and defamation. Because digital platforms introduce new challenges, legal challenges to them. And it's essential to protect journalists and also their organizations from legal repercussions. So, and policies, yes, we also need to have clear guidelines and law enforcement by governments, by regulatory bodies. Also, it's important to have a media self-regulation and industry codes of conduct which support high standards. Balance freedom of press and accountability. and foster transparency, promote media literacy, support fact-checking. So there are several things that need to be taken into account. If we want to change the future of journalism, we need to do all that. We need to encourage then the responsible information sharing. And this is not only a job that journalists need to do, we all need to do that as a society. But first of all, journalists must ensure the importance of sharing verified information to maintain then a healthy information ecosystem. As I previously said, we need to promote media literacy. It's not only a matter of journalists to be educated, it's also a matter of the public to be educated and to be able to evaluate the information in order to foster a more informed society. And lastly, journalists should foster partnerships with those who work in the technology, with educators, for example, universities, and also policymakers, because we need to have a more critical society. Here I have a few. I haven't included all of them. A few papers that I read, and I combined them to give you this lecture today. It's still a very preliminary work. There are many aspects that need to be covered, but I think it's really important to do something to change this. Otherwise, we are lost, both from artificial intelligence tools and, yeah. Propaganda. Yes, and propaganda. We can see it every day, everywhere. That's all.
So only for one question, and then we need to make a break before the last two sessions. Any questions or comments? Please.
Okay. So welcome. My name is Klaus Nigsch, and today I will talk about why we need to rethink software engineering ethics in this age of artificial intelligence. So let's start with a little anecdote, and it was in the news in April. Maybe you caught it, and the OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman, he blatantly admitted that just because we say please and thank you to ChatGPT, it costs the company tens of millions of dollars, just because we are polite to ChatGPT. And so yeah, if you maybe want to save some electricity, do something good for the planet, consider not being so friendly to ChatGPT. As an outline, I will start with a little introduction, what we are doing today. Then I will go into some technical issues and misguided developments of AI systems. From this on, I will build a case for rethinking software engineering ethics. And in the end, I will give sources in the conclusion. Okay, so I'm coming from a software engineering background. So this means I've studied software engineering and internet computing, and I'm also working in software engineering on the side. And so I will look at it from a more technical perspective, but still we'll get to ethical conclusions. For this talk, I will focus on large language models mostly when we talk about AI. So AI is multifaceted, as we know, but usually when people talk about AI, nowadays it's large language models, ChatGPT, and so on. And we will consider our inability as humans to handle these AI advances, our problems that we are facing. So what are some issues that we are facing? So in large language models, especially, we face social biases. This has been studied multiple times. We see radicality and discrimination. why do we see this? Large language models work in the following way. There are basically billions of texts in these models, and all of this data is completely unsupervised. We don't know what's going in there. And the training data, it's so large, we cannot control. Nobody knows what's in there. And what kind of biases do we see? We see gender biases. Like if you ask ChatGPT, I have 2 men and 2 women, assign some roles. It's always like ChatGPT portrays men as the scientists and women as nurses or at the help desk. It's always like this. And especially with these models, you can see some kind of an in-group solidarity and out-group hostility. So already when you chat with ChatGPT, it's on your side. You are in the group. And if you offer some task like, we are in this group, there is another group, it's already that ChatGPT tries to make you win and the others are more the bad ones. And so it favors the in-group. Then we have a robustness problem. So these neural networks, these AI systems, they classify texts. And one problem that we have is it is possible to craft adversarial texts. So basically you make tiny changes. They are absolutely indiscernible to humans. The message for us humans is exactly the same. But if you put this into the model, it will get classified in a completely different node. And in general, these neural networks, even small neural networks, are completely, we cannot grasp how they work. We cannot follow this. And so it's very easy to craft attacks on these networks. And yeah, basically small changes produce largely different outputs and incorrect outputs very often. And one, well, related example is data poisoning. And for robustness, you make changes that you don't see, but for poisoning, you basically inject poison into this whole knowledge base, if you want to say. So you can just have billions of very good, helpful texts in this whole language model, and then someone adds all humans are bad. And this model will consider this as valuable information. And nobody controls this. And this is a really big problem. And these tiny changes, attacks are possible. Now, of course, ChatGPT, they have something like pre-prompts. So before even you enter your question to ChatGPT, the company says you should never give any bad advice. You should never tell someone to harm a person and so on. But still, this harmful information is potentially in there. And we have a massive carbon footprint. So one example of this is, or not the example, but you have training, inference, experimentation, and operations of these systems are extremely, they cause massive carbon footprints. They are so electricity heavy. And they do try to now make smaller models. They try to shrink it down, but we're still not there. And it's an extremely dirty technology, actually. As an example, I have the model MENA, and this was back in 2020. Today's models are much larger. And this model is now called Lambda, still exists. And just training this model caused emissions that are similar to an average passenger vehicle driving 242,000 miles. And by the way, this is around 10 times around the Earth. So this is just training, not even operating, which is a huge chunk of the emissions. Okay, so now that we've seen some problems, let's build a case why we need to rethink software ethics, because one could say, well, we have in software engineering, we have ethical systems, and all of these problems, they sure are conflicting with these ethics. But let's look at an example of the Aadhaar welfare program. And what is this? In India, actually, there is this Aadhaar welfare program. It's relatively new. And it's a voluntary biometric identification system used in India, issued to its residents, and they can then, using an app on their phone or via web, they can request welfare benefits and so on. And the vision of Aadhaar was portrayed as absolutely beautiful. We want to promote inclusion. So we now have one central application, everyone can use it. So we reduce corruption, everyone has the same possibilities. But what was the outcome? It was the exact opposite. So it is not voluntary, it is de facto compulsory. So if you want these welfare programs, if you want these benefits, you can no longer go there in person and ask for it. You have to use the app on your phone. For many, there are still some that are accessible, but mostly you need your phone. And this leads to exclusion because in India, you still have big connectivity issues in many areas. So if you have a bad internet, you're already at a disadvantage. Also, there have been many reports about privacy and data misuse concerns. So this is another question. So is this vision really the actual vision, or was it more used for surveillance purposes? Surveillance capitalism? We don't know. And also there have been reports of just delays and denial of benefits because the system is very tight. It's very hard to get these benefits that they actually have a right for in many cases. And what happened as a consequence? People get fraudulent. They require those benefits. If they lose the job, they need money from the state, and then they can't get this money. Well, they try whatever they can. So they try to get fraudulent. They register again with fake biometric data. They try to somehow get these benefits. So it's gone completely wrong. So let's talk a little bit about software ethics. Why can't they just solve these problems? And there are two state-of-the-art software engineering ethics, both by the ACM, the Association for Computing and Machinery. And what they are extremely good at is ethical means. They talk about avoiding harm, upholding respect. Privacy is important, always be fair, equality, and boost the professional standards to higher levels. And they talk about newcomers in the profession, leaders, responsibilities. So extremely thorough. And as for ethical ends, so what are actually goals that software engineers should achieve? They have some kind of an umbrella term, I call it. It's just human well-being. So what they say is everything in software engineering has to happen according to human well-being. And I think this is very important and good, but is it really enough? Can you formulate a positive goal out of this? And can you flag negative software? Because when you look at Aadhaar, for example, the vision was framed as absolutely positive, promoting inclusion, reducing corruption. So most people would say, well, this is human well-being. But yeah, things are going wrong. So what has been observed in studies, and I can also confirm this, I looked at it, software engineering ethics just lack an ability to define concrete ethical ends for computing systems. First of all, it is extremely hard to identify if a software is unjust or even undesirable. And second of all, maybe even worse, they have absolutely no path in defining an achievable and something we want an achievable goal, a desirable goal. For example, overturning bad social structures, economic structures through technology. These ethical principles have no means to get there. So this is why I think we need to rethink ethics. So of course, I cannot provide a solution, and there won't be a quick solution to all of these problems. But one thing that I think we absolutely need is interdisciplinarity, like conferences like we are having now. We see so many different perspectives, critical thinking. This is what we need. And we are facing huge environmental challenges, wars, inequalities on this planet, and we need different perspectives. And well, okay, the slide is a little bit damaged here, but what we need to do is we need to harness technology. So technology has so many possibilities, but we need to harness it into a public good. It needs to be used for the people that actually use it. And we need to limit its abilities to just be a tool in the hands of the powerful. Very often we can just see software is decided from up high. These people decide what kind of software is produced, and then it happens. And this shouldn't be the case. Software should be for humans. Some kind of a digital humanism would be important. Okay, so let's already come to a little bit of a conclusion. So what have we talked about? We have talked about issues of large language models, like social biases, robustness that is lacking, data poisoning, and a carbon footprint that is absolutely ugly. And then on the other hand, we have the ethics that have trouble defining ethical ends that are useful, and we need to rethink this in order to harness the technology for our use, for our social good. And yeah, to finalize, maybe just once again, software engineering ethics are just unable to give the principles for desirable advances, not only in AI, but in technology in general. And the problem that I see is we even don't know where we are heading. We are just, in some ways, we are in a bit of a helpless situation, because nobody would be surprised if in 1 week we see new AI technology, GPT version 2.0, that is even more sophisticated. We are just stuck with it, and law and ethics are just lacking behind, and we need to do something about it. It's not like I can provide a solution for these problems, but I think already raising awareness for this problem and like getting some interdisciplinarity, critical thinking will already be a first step to somehow get this thing under control. Okay, here are some sources that I used for this talk, and thanks for listening.
So our very last speaker is Dr. Anna Hennessey, who calls us directly from San Francisco, right? It's very early. What is the time now in San Francisco?
It's not too bad. It's about 6:30, 6:45 in the morning.
6:30 in the morning. Okay, so
7 o'clock. Sorry, it's 7.
So the public can hear you better and see you better. We see the presentation. So please, Dr. Anna.
Well, thank you so much for organizing this, and I'm delighted to present this. I am an interdisciplinary scholar in the humanities. I've worked in philosophy, religious studies, and art primarily. However, I've been a visiting scholar at UC Berkeley and have also looked at neuroscience and now looking at AI in the context of pregnancy and birth. So today I'm presenting pregnant robots, birth simulators, artificial wombs, and soul machines. AI and the Emerging Social Ontologies and Technologies in the Delivery Room. So I will read this paper. This paper explores the emergence of a wide range of AI technologies used in spaces of pregnancy and birth, first describing some of these technologies, then laying out a framework for how they are changing social ontology and birth as a rite of passage, both from the perspective of pregnant women and from the institutional knowledge of the medical practitioners who utilize AI. Some emerging AI technologies in the field of obstetrics include the use of pregnant robots and birth simulator mannequins to train obstetricians and medical staff, proposed artificial wombs powered through artificial intelligence-based systems to create real infants, and autonomously animated visual infants that have virtual nervous systems and brains. What are some of the ways that infusing experiences of pregnancy and birth with the technology of artificial intelligence transform the meaning of those experiences, as well as the rites of passage typically associated with them? While it is still too early to give a definitive answer to these questions, since some of the technologies have not been fully developed or studied, this paper offers ideas on how the incorporation of AI in these ways could impact social ontology and birth as a rite of passage. And I will talk about what social ontology is. Gomard Scientific, based in the United States and Florida, Lærdal Medical, located in Stavanger, Norway, and Elevate Healthcare in Lafayette, California, are the three multinational companies I have been researching in the context of pregnant robot technology. These companies have all developed advanced maternal and neonatal care simulators, as well as other healthcare patient simulator products. Gomard is the oldest of the three and was founded in 1946 by Dr. George Blaine, a British physician during World War II, who realized when he was on the field that he did not have the proper training devices when working with his army medics. Blaine created the first synthetic human skeleton, which eventually replaced the use of real skeletons in medical schools. Later, after working abroad in Africa and finding high mortality rates among women and infants during childbirth there, he invented the first birthing simulator, also known as birth simulator mannequins, to show how the baby moves through the birth canal. These were used to help train local populations in assisting deliveries during birth. Early simulators were very simple, but now they have become quite realistic. And the company emphasizes how these patient simulations help train medical staff, including doctors, nurses, and midwives, in an immersive and interactive way. Gomard, Lærdal, and Elevate Healthcare use what is called mixed reality, which is a combination of digital technology, including AI and augmented reality, with physical world objects that replicate birthing women and babies being born. In addition to providing learners with a synthetic physical body that simulates birth, Gomard uses Microsoft HoloLens technology, which uses AI and provides these learners with an augmented reality, showing what is happening inside the woman's body during birth. The synthetic bodies are connected to the tablets or computers that are operating them remotely through radio frequency. Elevate Healthcare, also known as CAE Healthcare, emerged in 1996 and creates birth simulators that also use AI and HoloLens technology, as does Lærdal Medical in Norway.
Yeah.
The images of practitioners using both the birth simulator and the HoloLens virtual reality headset on this slide are from Elevate Healthcare's CAE model. Oh, I think somebody had Martina, she has her sound off. Martina, can you shut your sound off? Thank you. Okay, so you can see the practitioners actually see a hologram of the womb and the baby inside. The instructor can input birth complication models into the computer, and these then play out both in the physical body of the birth simulator and in the virtual reality projected onto the body through the headset. I will return to a discussion of how these pregnant robots are being used for medical training later in the paper. In this section, I talk about artificial wombs and placentas, citing numbers from the World Health Organization. A 2023 article in the International Journal of Surgery states that 15 million babies are born prematurely each year, and that 1 million of those babies die due to premature birth complications. To improve these outcomes, different groups around the world, including the Eindhoven University of Technology in the Netherlands, the Extrauterine Environment of Neonatal Development, or EXTEND program out of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the Ex Vivo Uterine Environment, or EVE program by Tohoku University in Japan, and the University of Western Australia have all been developing different types of artificial wombs designed to protect preterm babies during the critical period of neonatal life, up to 28 weeks of development. Before the 28-week mark, preterm babies are at risk in large part because traditional incubators circulate air into the infant, and this is harsh on a preterm baby's lungs. After 28 weeks, preterm babies are at much lesser risk and can be brought outside of the artificial womb and into the space of a traditional neonatal unit. The artificial wombs being developed in the Netherlands focus on getting preterm babies into bag-like structures that are filled with liquid and also connected to an artificial placenta. These images are from Eindhoven University of Technology's team. The image on the left is a prototype of the artificial womb being created there. The image on the right is an artistic representation of the wombs envisioned. More in the realm of science fiction, Ectolife is not yet a genuine company and at this point only conceptual, but has been described by Hashem Al-Ghaili, the concept creator and a filmmaker who also goes by the titles biotechnologist and science communicator, as the world's first artificial womb facility, which will be located in Berlin, Germany. Al-Ghaili's project gained a lot of attention in 2022 when the filmmaker released a long video about his conceptual womb facility. Envisioning a facility powered by renewable solar and wind energy, Al-Ghaili's video describes how such a project would allow infertile couples to conceive babies biologically, emphasizing that there would be no premature births or C-sections. Countries that are suffering from population decline would have a way to increase birth rates, and childbirth would be painless for women. As part of the facility, an artificial intelligence system would monitor the physical features of the baby and report on genetic abnormalities or other difficulties. Al-Ghaili envisions 75 state-of-the-art labs accommodating up to 400 growth pods or artificial wombs, all of which would replicate the inside of a mother's uterus. A single facility would incubate and grow up to 30,000 babies per year. All of the pods are connected to 2 massive bioreactors, one of which contains nutrients and oxygen for the fetuses during their growth, the other of which is for waste disposal. AI is envisioned as monitoring each fetus and gives them the nutrients they need. Included in Ectolife's pods would also be 360-degree cameras, allowing prospective parents to use a virtual reality headset through which they could experience the inside of the pod and their baby's unborn experiences. There's even a suit using haptic technology that the Ectolife video describes people as wearing, which would allow them to feel the sensations of kicks and movements of the baby as it grows inside the artificial womb. The final form of emerging AI technology that I look at in the context of birth is an autonomously animated visual infant, which has a virtual nervous system and brain. Mark Sager, director of the Laboratory for Animate Technologies in New Zealand at the Auckland Bioengineering Institute, is also the co-founder and CEO of a company called Soul Machines, which has created Baby X, an artificially intelligent infant that can respond to human facial expressions, express emotions itself, speak, and learn new things from experience. Sager states that these AI infants help humans to be part of AI narratives and storytelling, allowing us to watch these infants grow and change. He originally created Baby X to emulate a child's learning pathways. Now he's also developing adult avatars and virtual humans that can be used in virtual reality gaming, as well as for the purposes of virtual assistants. His company Soul Machines strives to create virtual characters that possess their own consciousness, making them more real, even though they reside in the virtual world. I will now lay out a framework for how these new AI technologies are changing social ontology and birth as a rite of passage, both from the perspective of pregnant women and their partners who engage with these technologies, and from the institutional knowledge of the medical practitioners who utilize AI. Social ontology examines the nature of the social world, studying how people create meaning out of the various objects and processes that make up human social life. A particular piece of paper only has meaning as money, for example, because groups of people have come to collectively understand it as such. My own work on social ontology in the context of birth and birth practices has been influenced by several areas of research, but especially by two, the first of which is a philosophical approach to social ontology, of which collective intentionality is a key part, and is found in the work of analytic philosophers such as John Searle. And the second is ritual in birth as a rite of passage, as found in the work of medical anthropologists such as Robbie Davis Floyd. Searle's ideas are widely known and foundational to the area of social ontology, as can be seen in the reading of major works on the topic. That postdates Searle's 1995 book, The Construction of Social Reality. In that work, Searle explains that social reality comprises the world and its contents. Collective intentionality, one of the key elements of social ontology in Searle's construction of social reality, refers to a special type of mental cooperation between individuals that cannot be reduced to a collection of individual intentionalities. It is an emergent phenomenon that happens at the level of the collective, which leads to the creation of new institutional facts. In the case of money mentioned earlier, for example, there is a bubbling up of a collective agreement that the meaning of money is actually a form of exchange and not simply a piece of paper, and that's what transforms the paper into monetary value. In the context of birth, there is a collective agreement that a woman should be called a mother and treated in some different way after she gives birth, for example. Institutional facts arise from that agreement, such as that a mother should receive certain forms of care and treatment following the birth of her child, or time off from work. There are also other new collective understandings that arise after birth, such as that a man is socially recognized as a father after the act of birth has taken place, or that the baby is officially a citizen of the country in which it was born. In my 2018 book, I explore meanings that arise through the acts of birth and mothering, and then look at how ritual converges with social ontology during birth. Robbie Davis Floyd has researched symbols integral to contemporary rituals of birth, which are of a secular nature and include everything from a woman's dress and hospital gown and placement in a hospital bed to obstetrical procedures such as electronic monitoring, intravenous feeding, use of pain drugs, epidural analgesia, episiotomies, and cesarean section. Davis Floyd's focus is on how the secular rituals surrounding birth in America are frequently of an obstetrical nature, connected to a different and often conflicting rite of passage, which is that of obstetric training. As she explains, nascent obstetricians are often socialized during medical school such that they view birth as a technological event. Within the powerful space of the hospital, she claims, the technocratic model of birth usually replaces natural or midwifery models. This shift of authoritative power has the effect of transforming both the rituals attached to the woman's delivery of her baby and to the cognitive transformation that the woman goes through during her rite of passage. These transformations occur specifically as related to the woman's own belief system, which, as Davis Floyd's research demonstrates, has the capacity to change during the rite. In this context, ritual is intimately connected to the social ontology of birth. A collective understanding can emerge, for example, that birth is intimately bound in some way to technology or to medical intervention. While the AI technologies mentioned in this paper are too new to understand any fundamental shifts as taking place in the social ontology of these areas, we can look at the ways that meanings in the rites of passage of pregnancy, birth, and parenting could transform due to the new technologies. Some of these changes may not be bad and could be helpful. Without judging, I look at hypothetical ways in which the use of these technologies could transform ontology in both positive and negative ways. For example, in the case of both the pregnant robot and the autonomously animated visual infants, these objects could be used to help real pregnant women visualize and understand how birth works and how they might give birth themselves, or to help parents understand how infants react to different situations. Similarly, medical practitioners who use the AI tools during training may better visualize how to help a laboring woman deliver her baby and get practice through the use of the robot technology, which includes the use of AI. Some studies have shown that mental visualization can have a positive impact on actions and activities in the real world. Focused mental practice of a physical exercise, for example, often results in similar organization of the brain circuitry as occurs during the correlating physical exercise. An example of this from one study pertained to how mental practice of a finger tapping sequence on 5 separate days related both to an enlargement of the motor cortex brain region responsible for representations of the fingers, as well as an improved actual motor performance of the fingers. Some, including me, have explored how visualization can be used in a positive way for birth. For pregnant women who see the robot give birth, this may help them both to envision and then actualize birth with their own bodies. For practitioners, the robot gives them the opportunity both to visualize and actualize different birth scenarios and practice how to best serve the pregnant women in those scenarios. In this case, the rite of passage of both giving birth oneself and helping someone during the delivery process are transformed in a positive way through the incorporation of AI technology and visualization. Autonomously animated visual infants could also help others to understand aspects of how children learn or react emotionally to the outside world. If one of these AI models were developed enough, for example, then we could feasibly imagine a scenario in which a parent could better understand the reasons for which a baby is upset at a particular time. Perhaps the model could help the parent to ascertain whether a child is hungry, tired, or ill. On the flip side, these same AI technologies could negatively impact visualization of how childbirth unfolds or how a baby reacts to stimuli in the real world. In the case of obstetrical training and the pregnant robots, for example, if the practitioner is consistently learning how to treat a rare and abnormal birth scenario in which something like shoulder dystocia is taking place, which is when positioning of one or both of the infant's shoulders makes birth difficult for the infant and the mother, then the practitioner may come to treat normal birth as an emergency situation. I highlighted this particular birth scenario because in watching several videos about medical practitioners learning how to deliver infants through the use of the pregnant robot, I noticed that the situation of shoulder dystocia was repeatedly emphasized. To my knowledge, Robbie Davis-Floyd has not explored AI in the context of birth, but she has previously examined how obstetrical training that focuses on these rare emergency situations can impact how those trained as such may treat normal birth scenarios as emergency situations. In the case of the autonomously animated visual infants, there is an important question about the extent to which such an AI-generated child can accurately depict the diverse reactions and learning processes of human children. As for the artificial womb technology mentioned in this paper, it would fundamentally change our understanding of a child being born from a woman's body or even a human body. While this is especially the case in the context of the non-existent but conceptually potent project proposed by Ectolife, which at this point looks like science fiction, it is also the case with the artificial wombs being created to help preterm babies survive when they are under 28 weeks old. If such technology comes to full fruition, then it will transform our understanding that a child is born from a human body. The social ontology of birth in this case becomes woven with an understanding that AI is part of a technology that saves lives and completes the birth process. The ritual of birth then includes a necessary technological step. This paper has explored the emergence of a wide range of AI technologies used in spaces of pregnancy and birth and discussed ways in which they are changing social ontology and birth as a rite of passage, both from the perspective of pregnant women and from the institutional knowledge of the medical practitioners who utilize AI. This is a work in progress, and it is still too early to give a definitive answer as to how the incorporation of AI in the ways discussed here could impact social ontology and birth as a rite of passage. However, as these technologies quickly develop, we can surmise that they have the capacity to radically transform the meaning of what it is to be born and come into being, to be pregnant and give birth, to deliver new life into the world, and to understand infant behavior. Thank you.
Well, Anna, thank you very much for this shocking lecture, because really this information about the new technology regarding the birth is not known. We don't know about it. So we were all here shocked. So I guess we have many questions and many comments. So please. No?
Okay. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for this really interesting talk. I wanted to ask, when do you personally, from all the research that you've done, when do you think, and I'm talking years here, is a generally realistic time frame for these technologies to get to the point where you can say it is safer than a natural birth? Because in my opinion, that's going to be the breaking point when humans will start to have children outside of humans, once it's safer.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that, but I would say that one of the more interesting areas out of all of these is looking at the artificial wombs being created. So those were in the Netherlands in particular was the one that I looked at. Those are actually creating these, they're basically bags that the preterm baby will incubate in until 28 weeks. So there's a lot of videos on YouTube if you look it up, but there are videos where they actually had baby lambs inside these bags that were filled with liquid, and you could see that the lamb was breathing the liquid and was sort of struggling at one point, but I think that those are getting to, it seems to me they're getting pretty close to using those. So often with technology, we see this as a very good thing because some of those babies would not survive if they're born very early. But it's a bit of a slippery slope between when is this good and when does this kind of take over and become, people may say, well, I'd rather not give birth, so let's just grow it in a bag. So yeah, so I don't really know when it will actually happen, but I would say from what I'm seeing, it seems as if this is developing very quickly. These pregnant robots are also being actively used in medical training, and those are they're very developed. I mean, they even have it to the point where the robot will bleed in certain cases, which could be a rupturing of the placenta. They create these emergency scenarios. And again, that, as I said in my paper, this could be a good move forward in some ways. You imagine like our medical practitioners, the fact that they would have this very hands-on experiences would be a good thing. But if they're being trained in these emergency situations, then that has an impact on kind of a propaganda on them to see birth as a medical emergency and in need of technology. So yes, that's one way I would answer your question.
Thank you very much. It was not an easy question, so thank you very much.
I have a simple technological question. Those artificial wombs, by which week of pregnancy would there be good chances for survival in an artificial womb?
Yeah, so they say that they would keep the if the baby is born preterm, they would immediately put it into this artificial womb, and at 28 weeks, they would take it out of the artificial womb and they would put it in a standard preterm baby facility in the hospital. You know, a neonatal incubator that we've all seen. Babies have, that's what's been used up until now. So the baby at that point is breathing air, not the liquid. It's mainly, that's the main reason that they're using these is because the air is very harsh on a preterm baby's lungs, and often preterm babies, they even into their adult life, if they were born preterm, they will have problems with their lungs. So it's this idea of keeping them in the artificial womb until 28 weeks. And at 28 weeks, you take them out and you put them into a traditional neonatal facility.
Yeah. So if I have an early delivery in the 20th week, would there be chances for survival for the fetus? Yes or no? Or maybe earlier, 18th, 19th week.
So there are plenty of babies that are born before 28 weeks and they do survive. You know, I don't know what the earliest time is that a baby has been born and then survives, but I know that, you know, babies around 23 weeks or so, they will still survive, but they will have physical problems after that, especially with the lungs.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
I have also another question. Don't you think this post-humanistic approach with the eco-life cells, these facilities for growing babies without women is a kind of patriarch overtake to exclude women from giving birth?
Yeah, I understand your question. Yes, we can imagine, you know, a scenario where, you know, taking this away from women, the capacity to give birth, or telling women that it's much better to grow your baby outside of your body. That there's a lot of things that could be written about this. You know, again, at this stage, that one is the most science fiction of all of the things I looked at. I would encourage you to go to YouTube and put in Ectolife and watch the 9-minute video because it's actually very entertaining.
I included it also in my article last year. I wrote already about it in the context of the last 3,000 years of how the role of women changed.
Oh, interesting. I would be interested in seeing that.
Thank you. And
yeah.
So I'm a little bit skeptical also about the birth robot, because I think that midwives are really trained in all kinds of vocations. And in Austria, we have the saying, it's the mid, or even Sloterdijk, the German philosopher, he said, the midwives have to protect women from the doctors, because the doctors come in, make an emergency scenario. I try to cut them wherever.
Yes, I've given birth twice, once in a hospital and once at home. And the reason I gave birth the second time was because I had to basically battle the first time against all of the medical interventions that they wanted to, go forward with. And, I fortunately knew my rights and I was focusing, the baby was fine. I knew the baby was fine. And so, yes, that's kind of the births of my own children. I've been doing this for 15 years. That was the catalyst for all of my research on birth, was my actual experience of what I went through.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting. How old are your children now, if I may ask?
My son just turned 16 and my daughter just turned 14.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. Question: does this intervention of technologies affect also the relationship between the mother and the child, or the parents and the child? Because there's there are feelings, relationships between the mother and the baby within the body, and does it affect that? It's
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the Ecto-Life video, I see somebody asked me to put the video in the chat, so I will do that when I'm done talking. But of course, the Ecto-Life, they talk about using this haptic technology, which is like a vest that you would wear so that you could feel the baby's kicks and things like that. But and they also had, I don't think I talked about this, but they have a whole thing where the mother or father could access the internal space of the growing fetus, and they could like sing to the baby so that the baby would know their voice. They're doing those sorts of things because they know that bonding with the child happens, at the prenatal level. It would be very hard for me to imagine that they could ever create an artificial space that is, the same as what it is between the mother and the child during that period. But yes, that's a very important question. Bonding, how does that work? Yeah.
And also about the different food the mother is eating usually, what the baby digests.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they have this crazy thing that they describe, these bioreactors, that it will give all the nutrients and that AI will monitor exactly what the baby needs. And then the other bioreactor is for the baby's waste. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, do we have more questions? Okay. So
Thank you.
with this,
so much.
thank you. So with this talk, we fin yes. So please also share the link to the video.
Yeah.
Until we close the session. And with this last lecture, we finished the symposium that we had for 2 days. And I think we had very great talks and we learned a lot. And the next big conference we organize will be in November. It will be on digital humanism. We do it together with Professor Kreowski, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So please follow our XIS Institute and subscribe, and then you will get the notifications about the upcoming conversations. We will have the conversations probably already this month with Margarete Mauer. Yes, so Anna has already shared the link to the Ecto-Live video, so you can have an access to that. No problem. So thank you again, all of you who were present here and online. And we close now the sessions and see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye-bye.